Behold, I, moved by thy prayers, am present with thee. I, who am nature, the parent of all things, queen of all elements, the primordial progeny of the ages, supreme of divinities, sovereign of the spirits of the dead, first among the celestials, the uniform resemblance of all gods and goddesses. I, who by my nod govern the luminous summits of heaven, command the salubrious breezes of the sea, and rule the silent stillness of the realms beneath. One divinity am I, whom the whole orb of the earth adores in manifold forms through countless rites by sacred names too many to count. Thus, the primogenial Phrygians call me Pessinuntica, the mother of gods. The Attic aborigines name me Cecropian Minerva, the floating Cyprians, Paphian Venus, the arrow-bearing Cretans, Diana Dictina, the three-tongued Sicilians, Stygian Proserpine, the Eleusinians, ancient Ceres. Some call me Juno, others Bellona, still others Hecate, and others Rhamnusia. But those who are illumined by the incipient rays of the sun, those who greet the dawn with ancient knowing, the Ethiopians, the Ari, and the Egyptians, skilled in sacred learning, worshipping me with rites most fitting. They call me by my true name, Queen Isis. Now, if you weren't moved by that, I suggest you start from the beginning. To those of you who feel that tingle in your soul, not your spine. Welcome. This is Outellect, the intersection not only where you and I cross paths, but a space where intellect meets spirit, where rigorous inquiry meets existential courage. Allow me to be your guide. Take me by thy hand, and let's delve into the rich tapestry of human thought, the archetypes of our psyche, astrology, and history's mysteries. Let us together examine the wisdom of the great luminaries, mystics, and philosophers, both celestial and terrestrial. Today our exploration begins in Kemet, a land some refer to as Egypt. Here we'll find Isis. Please forgive me. Here we'll find Queen Isis, the mother of all eternal knowing, a knowing only found through gnosis, a sacred spiritual knowledge or insight only achieved through direct experience or awareness of the divine, not through belief, dogma, or intellectual reasoning, but through inner revelation, the truest path to salvation. In the age of Aquarius, as we stand at the precipice of chaos and destruction, death and rebirth, I call to Isis, not only seeking her wisdom, but the nurturing touch of the woman, as we of humanity so desperately need it. The veiled goddess is not merely an ancient Egyptian deity, but the universal archetype of wisdom, nature, and divine feminine mystery. She transcends religion and time, being known by countless names, which in my humble opinion was done intentionally, but again, who am I? A patriarchal attempt to bury truths of the divine feminine. However, her essence has been etched in the scrolls of all religious doctrine. We can't escape it, because it wasn't meant to be forgotten. Sophia, Shekhinah, Magna Mater, Virgo, and yes, Mary Magdalene, liminal figures across religion with their origins deriving from the All-Mother Isis. She is the initiatory path to spiritual transformation. No mortal man hath ever me unveiled. Powerful words from the Queen inscribed on a motif found in Rome. The veil represents the limitations of the uninitiated consciousness. She is the mirror of nature and the maternal matrix from which all emerges. To unveil her is not only to accept this truth, but to perceive sacred order within chaos, the hidden laws of the cosmos. To overstand and understand, let us examine the alchemical composition of the goddess. Isis, the Great Mother, is not a statue of stone nor a myth forgotten. She is the beating heart of nature itself. She wears a robe that shifts like seasons, black, white, yellow, and red. These are not mere colors, but sacred codes of becoming, the path of transformation woven into her garment, stitched from the stars. Her black robe comes first. It is the darkness we all must pass through, the soil in which the seed dies before it blooms. It is grief, confusion, and the stripping away of the false ideologies and indoctrination. It is the breaking down of who we think we are, not figuratively, literally, a complete examination of the soul. In the language of the alchemists, this is putrefaction, the death that must come before the rebirth. Then the white robe emerges like dawn. It is stillness after the storm, the clarity that rises from surrender. This is purification, the washing of the soul, the cleansing of illusion. It is the moment we begin to remember the light that lives beneath our scars. Next comes the yellow. This is illumination, the rising of inner light, the joy of realization, the return of purpose, the golden warmth of divine recognition. It is not the light of the world, but the light within the self, when the soul begins to shine with the memory of its origin. And finally, the red, the robe of completion. It is the flame of the heart awakened, the passion of the divine will made flesh. It is the fire that creates, transforms, and restores. This is the sacred union of spirit and matter, the final stage where the soul, now gold, walks radiant through the world. In her hand, Isis holds the sistrum, not a toy, but a sacred instrument. Its rhythm stirs the elements into harmony. It represents circulation, the eternal dance of creation, decay, and rebirth. It is life in motion, vibrating through every cell and star. She also carries a jar shaped like a boat, with a serpent for a handle. It is the vessel of the soul, crossing the waters of time. The serpent reminds us, death is not destruction, but renewal. The soul sheds skin after skin, returning always to life. Symbols speak through her, grapes on her breast, wheat at her womb, stars on her robe, moons in her hair. Each one whispers of nature's generosity, of the endless giving of the feminine force that births, feeds, and sustains all life. Upon her head coils a serpent swallowing its own tail, the Ouroboros. It is the cycle, the eternal return. No beginning, no end, just transformation, just life becoming death, and death becoming life, all things feeding all things. And at her feet, venomous creatures twist, not in rebellion, but in reverence. For she commands even poison to serve her purpose. In her mystery, every enemy becomes an ally. Every wound becomes a wellspring. Even venom, purified, becomes medicine. This is her great alchemy, not the turning of metal into gold, but of the human soul into its divine image. She does not promise comfort. She offers transformation. To follow Isis is to enter the sacred fire, to walk the spiral path, not to know more, but to become more, to be undone, reborn, and crowned with the light of one's own awakening. In the beginning, so the Bible tells us, God created the heavens and the earth. But beneath the surface of this patriarchal framing lies a far older veiled truth. Before the rise of Yahweh as a solitary masculine deity, there was the primordial feminine, Isis, the ancient Egyptian queen of heaven whose mysteries and sacred knowledge predate the Abrahamic scrolls. The word Genesis is more than a title for the origin of things. It is an encoded remembrance. Genesis equals the genes of Isis. It is a mystical whisper, a divine breadcrumb left behind by scribes who still honored the old Gnosis. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. This void was not an absence, but the womb of the mother, the nun, the cosmic ocean of potential, where Isis first breathed life. Before Elohim spoke, she conceived. The ancient Egyptians knew her as Iset, the throne, the seat of power, the matrix through which the divine Logos could be made flesh. Don't believe me? Do your research. Isis was that face hovering over the waters, the animating presence upon the deep, not merely beside it. In some early Gnostic interpretations, it is Sophia who falls from the pleroma and brings form to chaos. But Sophia is only another veil of Isis. The speaking of light is not just creation. It is the uttering of the divine name. Isis was the keeper of the sacred word, the one who obtained the true name of Ra, gaining divine power over life and death. Just as God creates through the word in Genesis, Isis heals and resurrects Osiris through magic words of power, incantations that birth the future. In this sense, God's "let there be" is an echo of Isis's magical incantations, both calling forth form from formlessness, commanding the invisible into visibility. The word, the breath, the spell are one and the same. Let us make man in our image. According to the Genesis tale, Eve is taken from Adam's rib, but in ancient Egyptian lore, it is Isis who reassembles Osiris from fragmented parts, birthing the resurrected masculine. She is not made from him, he is remade through her. The true mythos is inverted in the later text. Eve, often vilified, is the symbol of Isis, the first initiator, the giver of knowledge, the one who dares eat the fruit of wisdom. The serpent in the garden too is Isis, she who knows the mysteries of life and death. In Egyptian iconography, she is often crowned with the Uraeus serpent, a symbol of divine consciousness and protection. Eden itself bears resemblance to the lush, sacred landscape of Kemet, the black soil, where divine life first blossomed. The 4 rivers of Eden mirror the sacred branching of the Nile. The tree of life and tree of knowledge are Djed pillars, symbols of Osiris and stability, often protected and raised by Isis in temple rites. And the expulsion from the garden. It echoes the fall of Egypt into forgetfulness, a warning and a prophecy. Genesis catalogues lineages, generations, the flow of blood and covenant, the sacred genes. These are not merely biological, they are spiritual codes, divine blueprints passed through the wombs of women bearing the spark of the goddess. Isis, who birthed Horus, gave rise to the divine royal line. So too, Genesis obsessively traces begats, spiritual descendants meant to carry the light or the law. The true bloodline of Isis was hidden in plain sight, veiled behind patriarchal names and stories, but never lost. Genesis, then, is not merely the beginning. It is the beginning of her return. It is a coded scroll, written by hands who once worshipped her, but hid her behind veils of language, patriarchy, and time. Yet her name is still there, buried in the syllables. Genesis equals Gene plus Isis, the divine blueprint, the mother of all beginnings. Our goal through every transmission is to leave you better off than when you arrived, so I challenge us all to seek Isis, to seek your own soul in its purest form, naked, unguarded, radiant with ancient memory. We do not follow her with the eyes, but feel her deep within our bones, our dreams, and the ache that will not silence itself. She does not reveal herself to the curious, but to those who answer the call. Not to the proud, but to the initiated through humility, longing, and inner fire. The veil is within, not a cloth of linen draped over stone. It is the layer of illusion wrapped around perception, the shell of false identity, the crust of inherited stories. To lift the veil is to strip the self of all that is not soul. She appears when the seeker has been emptied. She speaks when silence has been mastered. She reveals when reverence outweighs desire. You become her silence, and yet she hears through you. Initiation is not a climb toward something new, but a descent into something ancient. already seeded in our blood, already carved in our bones. We learn to read symbols not with intellect, but with intuition. Each serpent, each sun disk, each grain of wheat in her imagery is a code, a map, a mirror. She teaches in riddles because the soul must not be told, it must remember. Now, the alchemy of oneself, not in laboratory flames but in the crucible of the heart. First, the black phase, putrefaction. The old self dies, illusions rot, masks crack, grief is sacred, loss is initiation. Then, the white phase, purification. The soul is cleansed, stripped of ego, made luminous. Here we see our reflection clearly. Then, the yellow, awakening. The light of inner wisdom flickers to life. The divine child begins to stir within. And finally, the red, union. Spirit and matter are reconciled. We become sovereign. This is not metaphor. This is the alchemy of the soul. Her temple is a living school. There is no enrollment, no certificates, only experiences, trials, dreams, synchronicities. The pain that breaks you, a lesson. The joy that returns after, a sign. The symbols that reappear again and again, a syllabus. Her temple is your life, and every moment is a test of perception. We are not here to escape the world, but to transform it, by first transforming thyself, to reclaim the scattered pieces of our own Osiris, to gather the wisdom, pain, beauty, and ruin of our lives, and to anoint it all sacred. This is the life's work, to become the throne upon which spirit can sit, to become the vessel through which wisdom pours, to become the mirror that remembers the stars. When the veil falls and the eyes see clearly, we then realize we were never just seeking Isis, we are becoming her. Not the goddess of myth, but the living archetype of wisdom born through experience, divinity awakened in dust, truth restored through tears. This is the holy work, Christ consciousness, the second coming of Christ, death and rebirth. To resurrect the divine child within, to walk the sacred spiral, not to escape matter, but to illuminate it. And thus, we are no longer seeking, we are sovereign.